Hey everyone, this is Aaron from North Alabama Disc Golf, and this is the Rumble at Ravenwood in Hermitage, Tennessee. That's only about 15 minutes outside of Nashville to the east. It's at the Ravenwood Country Club. It's been turned into a 27-hole disc golf course. Got to thank the video sponsor Halo Disc Sports. They have a new tour bag, and we got a few videos coming up to show how awesome the new bag is. Starting off on hole 1, we have Ken Climo, Zach Melton, Barry Schultz, Tim Owston, Logan Bowers. 450 feet, just a little bit downhill. And Kenny puts a nice throw out there. You want to play this hole throwing straight at it because this course has all natural out of bounds. You can see there are some golf cart paths to the left and right. You have to stay inside of them. Lefty Zach Melton throws a hyzer, but he leaves it out a little wide. I think he was trying to spike it in the middle of the fairway. Threw it just outside, so he'll be out of bounds. Barry Schultz taking an Anheuser at it. I think that's a R Pro Boss. And it's got some work to do to get back inside. And he just misses. He'll be out of bounds too. This is Tim Owston. He's a 994 rated player out of Tennessee. Zach is out of Tennessee too, and Logan. So there are a lot of locals on the top card here. All of them around 1,000 rated. Zach 1,001, Logan 1,008. And Tim gets the fade he needs. It just skips back off the cart path. He's going to have a look at a birdie. That's a great way to start off on this 27 holes. If you watched any of my videos, you know this guy, Logan Bowers, looks like he's just trying to spike it, and it's going to do just that. Stops it in the fairway, safe. He's going to be looking to take his 3. Something you don't see very often, a lefty flick. Barry gets a little bit of the tree, but he cuts through it. Signature little floaty upshot from him. And that's just a mental error from Logan, so he's going to have a long putt to save his 3. Kenny with about 35. Just a little bit short. Good run, though. Going to have a drop in. Logan just short and left, front into the basket. Tim came close. He was the only one with a look at a 2. Same thing. Front of the basket. Zach cleans up. I think that's a bogey 4. Kenny drops in for his 3. So I think that'll be Tim and Ken taking 3s. Everyone else starting off with a bogey. On hole 2, 725 feet. You have a long drive to make to crest this hill. And then you have a downhill approach shot. And Kenny might be older than the rest of these guys, I think, but he just crushed that drive, put it over the hill. He's going to be looking at the basket, which is a difficult thing to do on this hole in particular. Zach's drive was huge, but he just got a little unlucky grabbing that tree. Barry throwing that boss again. Stables up probably a little quicker than he'd like, but he's at the top of the hill. He's going to be looking at it, I think. And Logan puts out another huge drive. Little look at the gallery and how beautiful this course is. It's absolutely huge, and there was a ton of work done to get this course in shape. I think they only had about 2 months to get it all cut, and it was 27 holes. Big shout out to Cloud9 Disc Golf and Dan Sisk, who is the tournament director. They really made this place look great. And so you can see here, these guys have blind up shots because they didn't get it as far down the fairway as they need. And there's another solid 300 or 400 feet, depending on the length of your drive. Barry does have a look at it after all. And I believe that's in the circle. Logan has a look. Throwing out, I think that's a gator, maybe a glow gator. And it gets stable, comes back into the circle. Kenny with the longest drive and by far the easiest upshot. Just throws one of his rocks right up there. And the sand trap, as you can see there, we couldn't see it from where these guys are standing. The sand traps are out of bounds, and it makes for a really interesting and difficult dynamic when you add it to these really long courses. Great putt from Tim. Puts in for his 3. 3 on a 725-foot hole is always a good thing. Logan for his 3. Another great putt. Really love Logan's putting style. Just spins it straight at it. Drops it in. Barry gets a long putt too. All these guys from about the circle's edge. Kenny's got the closest look. Automatic if you're the champ. Moving on. Hole 3, 574 feet. Everyone got a 3 on that hole except for Zach. This hole, it's 574, not as long as the other one, but this one is uphill the entire way. And those trees on the right, Kenny got around them. He's going to have a great-looking shot from up there. You're just trying to get up the fairway as much as you can without going out of bounds on the left side. And that's pretty much the play right there that Tim did. Throw a nice anhyzer, let it fade back into the fairway, get as far up the fairway as you can. Barry going for a huge sky ante. And that our pro boss came out really, really early. Surprisingly, really thought it would have held a little bit longer. I'm sure he would have liked it too. So he's going to have out of bounds from a drop zone. Logan showing that you don't have to be a big guy to crush the disc. He gets a great drive. And this is a good lefty hole. There are a lot of good lefty holes on this course, actually. Zach puts it out there. Perfectly fine. Now here is the drop zone, and Barry's got to be going for the green. It's a long drive, and he crushes out another boss. He'll have a long look, but I think he will have maybe a 40 or 50 footer. Zach's up shot fades out a little bit early. He's going to have a longer look than he'd like. Really great drive and a nice little upshot, too, from Tim. Kenny just making the course look easier than it really is, just pitching it up. Same with Logan. This course is all about the drives on the long holes and then having a solid upshot. Zach's bid for a 3, just a little bit low. Timmy puts his in, so he's off to a good start too. Here's Logan from about 25 or 30. Little high, but not too high. Drops it in. On to hole 4, 635 more uphill. And then once you crest the top of a long hill, it sneaks into a little shady grove where the basket is. Kenny puts out an anhyzer, just tries to get it up there, and you can see the dark patch up there. That's where the basket is. You can get a little look at the flag. All these guys putting out pretty big drives, just trying to get bite off as much of this fairway as they can. Logan showing the arm speed again, out driving the other guys so far. I think Zach turned his over a little bit more. That's one thing you don't want to do in this hole. You want to be in the middle or to the right. If you're up against those woods, you're going to have a difficult upshot. Barry just playing the placement game, puts it out there. He's going to have a look. Onto the upshots. Zach's trying to get a big turnover, but it grabs a little bit of the woods, falls down. Now, the whole goal is to get a clean upshot right here, and you can see Kenny's probably going to like that. He's going to be around the circle's edge. But this isn't the easiest one because as soon as you get over that hill, it drops down, and there are woods right behind the basket. And it's guarded by a bunch of trees, so luck may play a factor. I think Barry's going to like that, but it's not all grass right there. There's a little bit of dirt. It can skip. Logan again with his gator. He's probably going to like that one. Last up, Zach throwing 3. Trying to get a little turn. Fades a little early. Zach's not starting the round the way he'd want, I'm sure. Cool looking lie from Kenny. You can tell he wanted that one with the little bounce right up, snugged up against the tree. Here's Barry with his sort of patented horseshoe putt. And you can tell he practices those, and that was maybe 30 feet from the woods on the knee. He likes that one. You've seen him in other videos make those. And watch here as he walks away, he goes up to the other guys and says, that's why they're worth practicing. So Barry putting on a little bit of a show for the rest of the card and all the spectators. Zach hits the band, and Logan goes a little left, both missing some putts. But thankfully, they both hit metal or hit chains, kept them from flying past. They both putt with a lot of velocity. So we got a few fours on that one. Barry with the lone 3, Zach with a 5. On to hole 5, 485. And as soon as I walked up to this hole, I thought maybe this was a signature hole of the course. There are a ton of signature holes on this course. It's just 485 downhill. Can you get it to the pin and get a deuce? Barry's going to have a chance. Looks like he went about 35 out. Kenny's throwing a big hyzer flip at it. Looks like it's getting a little straight on him. Goes into the out of bounds. That's the one thing. You have to clear that. And most of these guys are throwing right-hand, backhand. And so it totally brings that very large sand trap into play. And there's one on the backside, too. And you can see Timmy almost threw into that one. Logan's got a better look at this one because he's got the forehand, which is probably a better approach if you've got the distance, but he swings it out a little bit wide. Still, it's safe. He's looking at a 3, maybe a 2. And here's another hole where I think there's a lefty advantage, but I think Zach sawed it off just a little bit, and it's going to swing out of bounds right here. Zach with about 40 plus, maybe 50. He's going to be dropping in for his 4. Kenny trying to get the deuce, just a little bit left. Logan's attempt. Very good run. Long run. Tim's got a chance. Also just a little short. His Barry. Just wide to the right. You know he wanted to catch up a few strokes on the entire card there. Didn't quite do it, so everyone here is putting in for 3s or 4s. Hole 6, 327, and when you're on a group like this with all 1,000-plus rated players and two multiple-time world champs, you got to get this one. Probably one of the easier holes on the entire course. Barry throws out what looked like a rock. Perfect shot. 20-something feet out. Tim's throwing a buzz. Puts a little bit too much turn on it. Logan's taking the natural forehand throw that he likes so much. Puts it right next to the basket. I'm not sure what that orange disc that Kenny threw during this round was, but I'm going to bet maybe that it was a Firebird. Some kind of champion plastic. And he's in the circle. I think Zach was throwing a lot of Prodigy plastic. I think that was one of their putters. He left it about 40 wide. Just a little low for Tim. Here's Zach's look for a 2. And that was a beautiful putt. I really love Zach's putting style. And you're going to see in the rest of this video, he's going to catch some fire with the putter. Barry puts in, shakes his head a little bit. Thought he might have been a little bit too high, but it's in there. Kenny 2, and Logan's going to drop in for his deuce as well. All those guys made pretty quick work of this hole, as all these guys should. So we had 4 2s there, the lone 3 from Tim, on to hole 6. Another long 600-foot uphill hole where you're going to have to bite off as much of the fairway as you can. And there goes Barry with another big sky anhyzer. Sort of hard to follow the discs here against the overcast background, but you can see he landed there at the top of the hill, so he's going to have a look. Once you get to the top of the hill, though, you can see that, I'm not sure what that is over there, but it was some kind of shack and probably some sort of utility for when the ball golf course was active. And the basket and the green are on the other side of that, so you have some obstacles to get across once you get to the top of the hill. Kenny throwing a laser beam out there. Fades off a little bit, but he's going to have a pretty good look. Didn't quite see where Zach drove to, but he's up there and he's safe. Tim's throwing right at that utility shed. And it's not a bad play, and he actually got closer to the basket than anyone else because he threw right at the hole. But he's going to have to be like Zach here. And Zach had a little look at the basket. You can see right there. And that was a great throw. Threw it a clean hyzer right over that shed. And Kenny got a little close there. Everyone gave him a round of applause. But he's on the green. Cleaner up shot look for Barry. Though when you play it out wide, you have a little bit more distance to cover. Logan flicking out the Rhino for his approach. And Tim was really close. But he left his upshot a little bit wide, so he didn't quite capitalize there. Misses the putt. Didn't capitalize on the long drive. Everyone else here is really close. Think they're all going to put in for their twos. See, Barry's got about 15 feet, no problem. Kenny with a little bit less. He's got a big lead, but you see right there, even on a 10, 12-foot putt, 100% concentration, a little bit of a headwind. On to hole 8, 660 feet. And this was another hole that I thought was pretty signature. I mean, look at this drive. Cut it right through these woods and land on this upslope as far as you can. And the basket is up into the woods back there, and we'll get a look at it in a second when I run up the hill. Logan saws his off. He was trying to cut off a bunch of that fairway, and that cart path is out of bounds. Again, shout out to Dan Sisk and everyone else who helped with course design out here. I think Kenny came out to help them as well. So that's a huge thing when you can design a course, 27 holes, and get help from 12-time world champ Ken Climo. Everyone else putting out some nice throws, getting it into the fairway. Definitely a placement shot. You want to land straight in front of you like Tim there. There's a look at the basket, and we're going to look back down the hill here. Logan's out of bounds throw. And that was no short shot. He is at the edge of the circle, had to crest that hill and get through those trees. That was an incredible shot from an out of bounds early throw. Zach leaves his a little bit wide. And at this point, when you're as far up the fairway as Kenny, Barry, and Tim are, you're just trying to miss the trees. You've got this distance covered, but you have to get clear of all these trees in here. And it looks like the little hyzer rock shots are doing the job. Zach was the farthest out, tries to give it a run. He's going to have to settle for a 4. Tim just a little high. Logan from outside the circle's edge. Left chains. Nice cleanup putt from Zach. Same with Logan. Barry drops in for a great 3. It's a birdie on this hole. And then Kenny was even closer. On to hole 291, par 3. Maybe a shorter distance hole compared to some of the holes out here. But this was a really neat hole. You see the basket there. Plays for a right-hand, backhand, and hyzer uphill, or flick from a right-hander if you got it. Or in Zach's case, he just throws a left-hand hyzer at it. And Barry throws a textbook throw on this. Just a little bit of anhyzer, lets it fade out just a little bit. He's right on top of the green. Kenny probably tries to do the exact same thing, but he doesn't get that little bit of fade at the end. He keeps it going over to the right, and you really want that S-curve. Nice hyzer bomb from Zach. He's on the green. Tim didn't quite get the height on that, so he's going to have an uphill, about a 40-footer maybe. And this hole was made for a flick. And Logan might have got CTP right there. I'm not sure, but close regardless.
Come on.
Tim's a funny guy. He's really wanted that one, but just off the right side. Kenny almost sits it on top of the basket. Zach from about 30. Just too low. Logan didn't get the CTP like I thought he might have, but he gets the birdie. Barry with an easy birdie, too. Shout out to Barry for using that Rocket City chain gang putter, local club from Huntsville where we're located at. On to 345, hole 10. Downhill, a little bit to the right hole. So you want to turn something over a little bit and not throw it too far. Not a lot of difficulty on this hole except for managing your arm speed and how far you're throwing. So these guys are just taking some turnover mid-ranges and letting the disc do the work. Pretty basic hyzer throw for Zach, but I think he threw it a little straighter than he wanted to. Didn't quite get enough hyzer. Tim throwing out his buzz. Used it a whole bunch this round. And that looks like it's going to work pretty well. Logan cans his birdie from maybe 35, 40 feet out. Great looking putt. Zach from maybe a little bit less, but just a little bit short. Kenny puts in from about 20. Tim gets his birdie. And that's 2 CTPs in a row for Barry. Here's probably the shortest hole in the course, 240. And this is an absolute must-get. Just clear these trees, throw your putter at it. Can you get your control game going here? When you've been throwing all these big holes, can you switch gears and, turn it over to a pitch and putt style of play? It might seem a bit easy, but you got to make the throw and you got to make the putt. All these guys making pretty quick work of this so far. Kenny does saw his off a little bit, but he's still in the circle, or at least on the edge. Zach's last up, choosing a flick. And that looks really nice. All these guys are around the circle or in the circle's edge. Just a bit high from Kenny. Great putt from Zach. Barry, too. Clean it up. These are no gimmies, but they're putting them in, getting their deuces. On to hole 12, 310. And it's an uphill throw with some trees on the right. Most of these guys are going to be throwing little hyzers here like Barry. I think that was a leopard from Barry. Just put a bit of hyzer on it, put a nice, strong throw, gets it up there. Definitely a left-hander flick advantage here because there's no trees on that side. Tim turns his over just a little bit too much. He's going to be outside the circle. Looks absolutely parked from Zach. And this was a bit of a surprising throw. Kenny takes the wide hyzer. I thought he would have thrown something more like Barry. But it works out. You don't question the champ. I learned that right there. Tim from 40. He's hanging him out wide, just a little bit. Everyone else pretty much has this parked. We have a nice little scenic view on some of the holes to come in the background. Nice little death stare there from Kenny. I don't know if you guys heard it, but a phone did ring right in the backswing of his putt, but he just powered through it, but made sure to let the person know that he heard their phone ring in the middle of his putt. So that was probably a bit embarrassing. On to hole 13, 300. We're officially in the middle part of this course, which has many deuce opportunities, and all these guys are going to get as many of them as they can, because coming up on the back nine of this course, you're going to wish or hope you had gotten as many birdies as you can, because it is definitely a difficult finish on this course. All these guys are pretty much throwing hyzers right at this basket. The one thing you do have to be wary of is that road is not far beside it. I mean, 30 feet to the right, maybe. So even though it's a shorter hole, you have to be accurate. If you're not, you'll get punished going out of bounds. Kenny cuts it as close as he possibly can. Nice looking shot from Tim. All these guys are going to be around the circle's edge or inside of it. Zach from about 30.
Come on, baby.
Great putt.
Ooh, son.
Maybe a little bit more than 30. That was a solid putt. Logan completely airballs it, but he was pretty far away. But you got to be careful with the putting here. You got to hit basket or anything to keep from going out of bounds backside. Kenny gets his deuce. So does Tim. Logan doesn't miss the comebacker, but I think he'll have the lone three here. Barry with another CTP. Hole 14, 330. Only got the drives here. Everyone got a 2 on that hole except for Logan. We got Kenny at 110, Zach at 118, everyone else at 119 behind him. Here's a nice little tunnel shot. I think that was maybe the leopard again from Barry. Probably going to have 35, 40 left for his putt. And I really like that lefty flick here. I think he might have swung it out a little bit. Well, it was overstable. It came back, but that seems like a really great throw if you've got it here. That's out there for Kenny. Circle's edge. Tim right up the gut, right at it. And he's absolutely parked. Looks like Logan's trying to do the same thing, just a little bit of an S-curve. He's parked as well. Now we're going to skip a few holes. This was an extremely long course, hot day. Hole 17 skipped a few holes, 363 feet. Here we have, after these few holes, there was a little bit of a tie, a little bit of a turn in scores. We have Kenny leading by 7. Barry moved up to take sole second. The other 3 guys, 3 behind Barry. So Kenny and Barry really tore up those 3 holes that weren't included in the video. And here is another hole with a little bit of a false front. You have that hill you have to crest, and you might think you've got the distance, but you haven't. What Tim did right there, I think that's pretty much the play for this hole. A nice straight to hyzer. Let it get over that hole and then start fading towards the basket. That way your disc is finishing going to the left rather than straight. Another one of those patented soft up shots from Barry, and you can see why he throws them. It almost went in the basket. Logan's putter catching fire from about 30 to 35 out. You can tell he's going to get more comfortable here. Same with Zach. As soon as he put that up, 1 second after he put his arms down, he knew it was in. He was ready to go get it.
No.
A good-looking putt from Tim, but it was just left. He had the height perfect. Basically a drop-in for Kenny. And now we're on to hole 18, 642 feet, uphill. And you got to get a solid drive out here to even have a chance, because it is uphill the entire way. Kenny throws a laser beam, but I heard him talking to some of the other guys here. You notice he landed in that short grass. He did that on purpose. because the short grass makes a difference on your approach shot. Logan got the short grass too. Zach's going to throw it here into the rough, right under that tree. Didn't quite get the distance he wanted, I'm sure. Barry's going for another big shot. But that boss isn't quite holding the turn that he wants. Maybe he's not putting enough zip or turn or spin on the disc as he'd like. But that's the second time that disc has faded out a little sooner than he wanted. Tim gets one out there, but he's in the tall grass. Here's a long hyzer up shot. And so you can't really tell from here, but he's going to be close enough for a putt. He might be 30 out or a little bit more. Pretty much the same thing from Zach. These are going to be routine type up shots, but he did come up a little bit short because the players have to remember here, this is still a pretty decent uphill shot. And there's that bunker off to the right, which isn't going to come too much into play, but you have to keep that in mind as well. Nice upshot from Logan. Flops right beside the basket. Same from Kenny. Again with the longest drive in the short grass. Great jump putt from Zach. It was a pleasure watching this guy putt. He is fantastic outside of the circle. Barry absolutely not happy there. He looked over to the right. There was a cameraman out there, and the shutter started going off while it was still in his hand, so he had some words to say to him right there, just asking, please don't start taking pictures until the disc leaves the hand. And that can be a PSA for anyone going out, taking pictures of these guys. It really helps them if you just wait till it's out of their hand. Hole 19, this starts the back nine of the course, 1,065 feet straight downhill. This was the signature hole on this course. And Kenny plays it beautifully. You think it's going in the trees, but no. It is just straight 500-plus foot shot downhill. Absolutely beautiful. I myself had to get out here and throw some discs off of this after the tournament was over. Logan rips out a huge forehand. Again, you think it's going to grab some trees. Nope, they're so far down the fairway. You have to play it right. You have to throw it downhill to get the distance. Zach lets his throw out a little bit too even, a little bit too flat. You really want to aim it down the hill at the basket, or it's going to fade out one way or the other in the wrong way. Timmy just takes his buzz, pumps it straight down there. And I think he might have had the longest drive, even though he was throwing a buzz here. You don't have to resort to your distance drivers. Unless you're Barry Schultz and you can throw his boss perfectly down the hill. Perfect S-curve. Tell you what, this was a fantastic hole to watch. It's definitely threeable at 1,065 feet. Zach's throw from out of bounds. Throws it a little bit to the left of the fairway, but that's going to be perfectly fine. Here's Kenny's look. 400-plus feet left at least. And he's throwing a beautiful shot. Had to lean over a little bit. Puts it on the mound. That was a fantastic upshot from that far away. Incredible accuracy with distance. Tim comes up a little short. He'll be a little outside the circle's edge. Barry throwing a pretty big hyzer at it. Needs it to come in and stop. It does. He'll have an inside the circle look. Looks like Logan had the longest drive there. I think Barry, Tim, and Logan were all pretty close. But he leaves his upshot a little bit short. That was throwing 4 for Zach, so he'll have his drop in 5, which is par here. But if you're throwing a 5, you're probably going to be losing some strokes to some of these 1,000-rated players. Great scenic look here back up the hill as Kenny gets ready. Puts it in. That is an eagle. Well-deserved. I mean, great drive and an even better upshot. Barry gets his 3 as well. Making some work of this course. Zach drops in. Hole 20, 775. You're on an elevated tee here. And there's more short grass and more long grass off to the right. And there's water to the left. That's definitely danger if you're playing the backhand like Kenny is right here. And he knew he nailed it as soon as he threw it. He throws it out to the right of the fairway, lets it finish inside of it. And in a strange turn of events, that same driver that Barry's been throwing did not fade out that time. Maybe there wasn't enough air under it, but it completely dumped right. So he's going to have a long approach. Tim gets a little scary there, but it stops short of the water. Zach turned his over a little bit much. It's going right at the water, and I believe it did go in. As you can see on the lens here, starts to rain just a little bit. We did avoid rain, thankfully. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make this video because I don't have any rain gear, so I can't film in the rain right now. Logan puts out a good upshot. And right there, as soon as you let go, that looked a little bit low. You rarely see Barry throw an upshot low like that. So he'll have a long look. Zach's approach shot from out of bounds. Plays it a little, not even a little bit, way too conservatively. Maybe it was the water, but he's going to have a long look to put it in. Great looking upshot from Tim. Believe he's in the circle. And just child's play for the champ. Basically set up off of his good drive. Put his drive exactly where he wanted it. And there he had just a pretty simple 300-foot upshot from the short grass. Routine upshot for Barry. Here's that long look from Zach. Gave it a run, but he's going to have a pretty easy comebacker. Tim's putts are just a little off. That's definitely not the first one he's missed high and left today. Good conversion for Logan. Uncharacteristic hole for Barry. Seems like the only person on this card and in the tournament all weekend that wasn't messing up at least once was Kenny. On hole 21, 335, definitely a birdieable hole. Just have to be a little bit wary of some water, but it's not a big deal for these guys. And some cart paths, but there's plenty of room on each side. This is a must-get. They should be getting this hole. Logan taking advantage of some left to right wind there. Barry gives it a run. Pretty close to an ace there. Nice looking throw from Tim. Follows Barry up. Same path. And a good looking one for Zach. Sure he wants to put some birdies in. He's had a couple rough holes despite his good putting. Now, you saw what the water looked like there. And we were all wondering why there were people swimming to go get discs in the middle of the tournament, but there were. Great putt for Logan. Outside the circle, 30 feet plus. Nice putt. Good deuce from Zach. Cleaning up for Barry. Easy deuce. Hole 22, 305. And while there's no out of bounds, I think, right next to this basket, it was difficult to park because it is uphill. You have this hedgerow of bushes and shrubbery and trees to the right. And it's on a mound too. That was the most difficult part about this hole as far as I observed. You could get bad runaways. And it's uphill. it's not the easiest distance to drive when you think it's only 300-something feet. A lot of these guys were left wide short. Looks like a good throw from Tim, just throwing it straight up the hill, trying to cover the distance. Nice looking throw from Zach, too. This might be a left-hand advantage hole. Looks like he overdrove it, but not by too much. Long putt from Barry. And there's the rollaway I was talking about. And that comebacker's not a gimme. Just short and left for Tim. Here's Zach's birdie look. Oh, great putt. Didn't think it was going in, but it caught that little bit of change that it needed. Dropped it in on the left side. Nice birdie from Logan. From his body language there, he probably didn't think it was going in. Pretty easy deuce for Kenny. Barry cleans up his 3. Deals well with that rollaway. On to hole 23, 615. And I heard a lot of golfers say they really loved this hole. And you have to make a decision. You can see there are 2 sand traps, left and right side, and Kenny's going for it. He absolutely throws a perfect drive, lands in the middle, past those sand traps. And you can either try and do that like him and Logan are both trying to do here, or you can play short of the sand traps and give yourself a longer approach shot. It's still doable, but it's more difficult. I think Zach's trying to take those. That's probably his best option right there. Throw in the flick, try to hit the middle of the fairway. And he didn't have to worry about those sand traps because he landed short of them. He'll have a longer approach shot, but it'll still work. Barry, just a little shorter than Logan and Kenny, but he landed it right in the middle of the fairway. Tim's just throwing a straight mid-range, purposefully landing short of the sand traps. One of the other guys said, "That's safe," and he said, "That's why I threw that." But he throws his up shot just a little bit wide right. That's more the line he was probably looking to take. But if you hit this beautiful drive like these other 3 guys have, you can tell the upshot is well worth the risk if you don't go in those sand traps. They all have easy looks, and they'll probably be getting their 3s. Tim had to pitch out, so this is his 3rd throw, or his 4th throw. Just a little bit short. Those are putts you got to make. Everyone here is going to be cleaning up. Tim with the only bogey on that hole. Everyone else got birdie 3s. This is hole 24, 425. It's a big Anheuser for a right-hander. Or a flick will work nicely too. You can see the basket right down through there. Looks like Kenny put a really nice throw. He's probably parked. Forehand and left-hand, backhand favored throw. Can't really tell where it finished. I think he was a little bit short. I think Barry's ended up a little bit short as well. Zach going for the big hyzer. That's the throw, but he came up a little short as well. Tim taking a wide look at it. Doesn't like it, but could be worse. He's going to have a long look. Logan's 50-footer uphill, just a little bit wide right. Here's Zach from about 40-plus uphill. Beautiful uphill jump putt. I think everybody knows when you come up to a long uphill putt, it's difficult, maybe one of the hardest putts to make in disc golf. Great uphill putt from Barry, too. You just got to get enough air under it because you can underestimate it so easily and hit basket or just completely miss the basket low every single time. We're on to hole 25. near the end of this course, 312 feet. Kenny's in the lead. He was never really challenged the entire time. He played some spectacular golf. And that looked just as good as the rest of his days have gone. Him and Barry both put nice-looking throws out there. It's 312 feet over this little hump. So it's another hole that these guys should get before a pretty difficult finish. 26 and 27 are some monsters. Pretty routine throws out here. Logan cut his off a little bit, but it's going to be near the circle or in the circle at least. And I think that's a great play that Tim did. He took an overstable mid-range for this hole, put it on a little anhyzer, and let it do the work coming back at it. Barry was farthest out, but he nails his birdie. So does Logan, a little bit high again, but that putt is absolutely working for him. Zach as well. Kenny and Tim putting in for their twos. I think that might have been the only star frame all day. On to hole 26, 510, another signature hole. 510 feet downhill. Basket is guarded by water on all sides. Absolutely scenic and beautiful hole. I think the play here is Kenny did throw out something flippy and let it flip up, put a little bit of hyzer on it, let it glide down the hill. Same play from Barry. You can't really tell from this angle, but he put some hyzer on it. It turns over. He yells for it to hook up, and it does. These experienced players really know how to play a long downhill hole. Zach throws his a little high. That's going to give the disc a lot of time to fade out. That's why you want to throw it a little bit more downhill on these types of holes. This is a very good flick hole. You can put a long hyzer at it. Can't do that with the backhand the right hand backhand on this hole. Logan's going to have about a 50 feet look. Tim throws downhill, but that was probably just poor disc selection. He needed something a little bit more stable. It turned over too much. Puts a nice upshot. And this, you probably can't tell from the video, this was a scary upshot. I mean, this is longer than it looks, and you really have to worry about that water. Great deuce from Logan. One of the putts of the round, if you ask me. Didn't think it was going in, but it snuck back at the last second. Surprised everyone. Got a huge crowd reaction. Kenny from 40. And that's great concentration heading down the stretch. Gives it plenty of air, lets it fall right in the basket. Zach cleaning up his three. Three's not a bad score on this hole. Barry with the CTP, moves on with his deuce. Tim taking a three as well. Now we're on to hole 27, 1,160 feet, par 5. You get almost a few more feet and you might be able to call this a par 6. It's a good throw from Kenny. Your first throw here is a placement shot. You want to land short of the water. I think it was 480, 485 to the water's edge. But it's not the hardest 480 feet to clear because it is a little bit downhill. And these guys are just throwing out placement shots. Definitely flick and left-hand backhand friendly, as you can see right there. Logan probably had the most distance off of his drive right here. Beautiful drive from Zach. No worries on this first drive for any of these guys. Just land in the fairway down there, and you're going to have a decent look to cross the lake. The lake is not that long, but you do have to clear it. Don't let it get in your head. I think it's about 200 feet across from one side to the other, but these guys do have some distance before getting to the lake. So a nice solid drive like Kenny's right there will clear it and cut off a lot of the next fairway for you. Great throw from Kenny. Barry trying that anhyzer. He's been trying to get to work all round, It finally does not fade out super early. And that's a great throw. He's going to be looking to get a 4. Couldn't make it over to Logan's throw, but he had by far the most distance. He crushed his second throw. Got a huge crowd reaction. He's going to have the easiest upshot of all 5. Zach looking to throw a bomb. Anheuser. Came up a little short. Probably threw it maybe a little bit too high. Tim with the most distance left to cover on his upshot. Nice looking up from Zach. It's got to stop, and I think he's at the circle's edge. Beautiful throw from Kenny, and he's right there. Great upshot. Definitely the easiest one from Barry because he had a great second drive, and Logan too. Routine upshots for these guys because they did most of their work on their drives and second throws. Zach couldn't quite finish strong. He had a long putt. And Kenny puts in for his 4. That's a birdie on this hole. And he wins. That's first place. You can't catch someone when they don't mess up. Great play from Kenny all weekend. Logan's looking to get his birdie. Strong finish from Logan, too. If you watch my videos, you see him in a lot of lead cards. He's a great player, great pro from around the Tennessee area. Barry puts in. I think he was going to finish 3rd. Logan 4th. Kenny in 1st, and we're going to put some scores up here to show you the final results. This was an absolutely fabulous tournament. One of the best I've been to. I wish I could have played it, and I just knew that everyone was going to be wanting to watch it. So sort of my duty to go film this and let everyone see how awesome it was, and I'm super happy I did. I hope you enjoyed it. Come back. We're going to have some more videos coming up soon, some in the bags, and the Music City Open. I'll have that, guys, for you in a week or 2. Thanks a lot. This is North Alabama Disc Golf.